All right, let's dive in. Have you ever really thought about how we make sense of, well, everything alive on Earth? We're talking millions upon millions of species. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible system we built for that. It's a story about finding order in chaos, and maybe, just maybe, finding our own place in it all. Okay, so before we get into the how, we really need to get our heads around the why. And the why is, well, it's the sheer mind-boggling scale of life on this planet. I mean, think about it. From the tiniest little microbe you can't even see, all the way up to a blue whale. Our world is just packed with this unbelievable variety of living things.
And that right there was the huge problem facing early scientists. It's like, look around, the world is just bursting with life. It's amazing, for sure, but it's also total chaos, right? How on earth do you even start to make sense of it all, let alone study it properly?
So get this. The number of species we've actually managed to identify and name so far, it's somewhere around 1.8 million. That's a huge number. And that whole concept, that's what we call biodiversity. It's what makes our planet tick. But here's the wild part. That number, it's not even final. It's going up all the time as we keep finding new stuff. Yeah, and it's not like all this life is just hanging out in the nice, comfy places. No way. We're talking about the tops of freezing cold mountains, deep, deep in the oceans, the driest deserts you can imagine, even in boiling hot springs. Life just finds a way. It adapts and thrives in basically every corner of the planet. Okay, so you've got this incredible variety of life everywhere. What's the first problem you have to solve? Communication. It's that simple. Before you can study anything, you have to agree on what to call it. I mean, how do you make sure that a scientist in Japan and another one in Argentina are actually talking about the very same animal? Because just using local names, it's a recipe for disaster. It's total confusion. Think about it. In one town, they might call a bird a robin, but a few hundred miles away, that name means a completely different bird. Or what you call a gopher, someone else calls a groundhog. You can't do science like that. You'd be talking past each other constantly. So the solution that scientists came up with is something called nomenclature. And the idea behind it is it's actually really simple, but it totally changed the game. The goal? Create one universal system so that every single living thing has one and only one official name that everyone on Earth can use. And the system that really stuck, the one that cracked the code, is called binomial nomenclature. It's so elegant and so smart that we're still using it today, hundreds of years later. The whole idea is to give every species a two-part name, and we have a guy named Carolus Linnaeus to thank for it. And it all boils down to these 4 simple rules. That's it. First, all names are in Latin, so it's a neutral language, right? Nobody's language gets to be the official one. Then you've got the 2-part name. The first part is the genus, the second is the species. It's brilliant because it doesn't just name the thing, it also tells you what it's related to. It's just a super elegant and effective system. Okay, so naming things is a huge first step, a really big deal. But it's still just step 1. Now that everything has a unique name, what's next? Well, you've got to organize them, right? How do you actually start grouping them together and building this massive library of life? Well, the way scientists do this is by creating categories. The fancy scientific term is taxa, but you could just think of them as buckets. Mammals is a bucket. Insects is another bucket. Fish is a bucket. You get the idea? We sort all these living things into different buckets based on what they have in common. But that leads to the obvious question, right? How do you decide which bucket something goes into? What are the rules? It can't just be a gut feeling. There has to be a system. And there absolutely is a system. Modern classification goes way deeper than just what an animal or plant looks like on the surface. Scientists look at everything, the external and internal structures, what its cells are like, how it grows from an embryo, and even how it fits into its ecosystem. It's the whole picture. And this brings up a really cool distinction. You've got taxonomy, which is basically the what, naming things, describing them, and putting them into groups. But then you have systematics, which is a little different. Systematics is more about the why. It doesn't just group things. It tries to figure out their family tree, who's related to whom. It's all about evolutionary history. So let's talk about this filing system. How is it actually structured? Let's peel back the layers and see how all these categories stack up. Honestly, the best analogy I've ever heard is a mailing address. It works exactly the same way. You start super broad with the kingdom, which is like the country. Then you get more specific with phylum. That's like the state. then class is the city, and so on. You keep zooming in until you get to the species, which is like the exact street address for one specific house. And here they are, the main levels of that address. There are 7 of them. You start at the top with kingdom, which is super, super general. Think all animals or all plants. And you work your way down, getting more specific at each level until you hit species. That's the most specific level there is. It's one unique kind of organism. Now here's the really important thing to get. The higher up you go on this list, from species towards kingdom, the less things have in common. Think about it. A housefly and a human are both in the animal kingdom. But we're not very similar, are we? But as you go down the list, things get more and more similar. This chart really helps it all click into place. Look, here's the breakdown for a human. Our genus is Homo, our family is Hominae, all the way up. Now let's look at a mango tree. It has its own unique address, right? And you can see where we split. I mean, we're not even in the same kingdom. It shows you just how different 2 living things can be. So at the end of the day, why does any of this matter? I mean, it seems like a lot of work, right? All this naming and sorting, what's the big takeaway? Well, it turns out the answer is actually pretty deep. Because when we started doing this, when we started mapping out this giant family tree of life, it led to this incredible aha moment. We realized everything is connected. Every single living thing today and everything that has ever lived, we're all part of the same gigantic family. And that idea, like this quote says, was a total game changer. It was humbling. So you see, this whole system isn't just some dusty filing cabinet for scientists. Not at all. It's more like a map of our shared history on Earth, stretching back billions of years. It shows us exactly where we fit in, just one tiny branch on this immense, incredible tree of life. And knowing that, well, it leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? Now that we know we're all connected, what do we do about it? How do we protect this amazing web of life that we're a part of?